All right, so to introduce myself, I am my name is Justin Sarachik. I'm currently the editor of rapzilla.com. I don't think there's any rappers in the room. We've already went around, but I have a lot of acquired knowledge from a long time in media and in music that could apply to everyone. And my journey probably started much like you guys in there. I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a famous musician. I listened to a lot of music as when I was a kid growing up. When I was in eighth grade, me and my friends decided to start a band. I have no technical ability with my fingers, so I was like, piano, guitar is probably not going to work. So I decided to become a drummer, and I played in like punk bands when I was a teenager. Uh, but I also liked writing music, so I've always liked writing. I would try to lead sing while playing the drums. It's not the best thing, especially when you're not a great drummer to begin with, and B, that great of a singer either. But so I've always tried to pursue like this dream of becoming a star. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to perform for people. So I kind of have that relatability with artists and people that I interview because I've played the music and I've had those same goals. Fast forward, I actually formed like a really good band, and the people in the band were so good at their instruments that I was like, I can't drum for this band. I'm not I'm not that great of a drummer. So then that's when I stepped out from behind the drum set and I kind of rapped, sang. I was a front man for this band for about 14 years. We were called Process of Fusion. We were a progressive metal rap rock band. So we did all crazy stuff. We had jazz, we had a little bit of funk, we had some punk. We were all over the place. We played a lot of shows in New York and the tri-state area where I live. And I kept chasing that dream. And on the back burner, it was like, okay, well, I'm in college now. So how could I become a rock star based on what I'm learning in college? And I was like, I know, I'll do journalism. And this is my 18-year-old, 19-year-old brain working where I'm going to interview artists and then I'm going to hand them my CD and then they're going to love it and they're going to take us on tour and we're going to be famous. That was all in my head. That was the whole goal of getting into journalism was to pivot that into music. It didn't work, and that's why I'm speaking to you today. But but um but I learned so many things along the way where it was just like I did so many things wrong or failed at things or experimented with tons of things as a musician, as a journalist. And all of these years later, when I get an email coming in from an artist or I get an artist asking me a question that kind of like makes me roll my eyes or like, how don't you know this? I have to I have to think back to how my brain was when I was an artist and I was trying to do stuff. And that's actually why I wrote this book, Survival of the Artist. And it started as I was dropping artist tips on Twitter. And they started getting a lot of good engagement and interaction. So then I started making videos about it, and those started doing well. So then I literally took all of those tweets and I asked Twitter, now X, I asked them for all of my data for every tweet I've ever sent, and they sent it to me. And then I combed through all of the tweets, I pulled out all of the artist tips, and then I expanded on each one. And it ranges anywhere from, what to do when you're emailing a publication, a media outlet, how to write a press release, how you should upload photos, how you should shoot music videos, like basically all of the things that I wasn't good at or I saw other people not be good at. I took note of it and explored it and researched it. So my heart has always been towards helping and encouraging and building up artists and basically saying, do all of these things because I did all of these things and they didn't work. So try doing this. Um, so that's the whole point of my Survival of the Artist book, and it's launched into like a side part of my journalism career. Now I get to interview artists, I speak to artists, I go to events and concerts. So I've been able to live vicariously through the people that I speak to all of the time. And you know, not all the time as an artist or somebody who's chasing some sort of dream do you get to go out on your own terms. So one of the things I would always say is like never take advantage of that moment because your run-of-the-mill show might be the greatest show you ever have, or even a very tiny show that has like a memorable moment might be the thing that you look back at the end of your career and say, wow, like I remember this exact moment on a Tuesday at 9:37 in a venue in front of four people, and that's when my life changed, or something like that. Um, and I think we as creative people just have this ability to kind of like we're chasing this dream and we want all of these things to happen for us, but really it's a community. And when you're trying to reach your art to people, you have to bring these people to you and make these people feel like you're a part of it. And one of the great things that we actually just talked about before getting on here was one of the points that I had. You have people who want to buy your music, your album. They want to spend the $20. They want it signed. I always like to tell people if you have a 100 hardcore fans that will do anything, they will buy all of your music, they will buy your albums. Those 100 fans will take you further than 100,000 streams because 100,000 streams is what? 100 and something dollars, not that much. Where if you have 100 hardcore fans that give you just $1, you're basically mimicking what you would get off of 100,000 streams. So you want to cater to those people that are investing into you. Every fan that you get that actually buys something, and now we'll talk, it's kind of like marketing, and you think of your fans, you yourself are the product, and you want to think of your fans as the consumer. You want to retarget market yourself to your fans. They already bought something of yours. They believed enough in you to buy something of yours. So they'll probably buy it again. And those are the people that you constantly want to say, hey, I've got this new music. I have this new comedy set. I have whatever. I have this new merch. I want you to hear it first because you're a supporter. I want you to see it first. I want to give you a chance to buy this first. And that's kind of how you build, how they say for a company, that brand loyalty, that these people will run through a wall. They'll show up for you at any concert, because streaming has the entire industry kind of on its head because you'll have somebody with 200,000, 300,000 streams. A promoter will book them to a show and four people show up to the show. And now the promoter is screwed. You look bad. It's like, oh, but I thought you had all these fans. Um, lots of times on streaming, unfortunately, it's kind of one and done. Someone finds, if you have a hit single or someone finds one single on an album or it gets playlisted, you get a whole rush of people listening to that song. And then all of a sudden, that's it. They haven't invested in you. They haven't even followed you on social media. And now you're getting booked for shows based off of streams of a casual person. So definitely, you want to cater to those fans. And I should have said this before, but please, especially since there's only, a couple of you, um, interrupt me and like ask a question, or we can expand on anything if you have any ideas. Yes.
Uh, T-shirts. So I printed some T-shirts recently, and then I realized I don't know
Hmm.
how to sell them, but people want to buy them, and I don't know how to manage the shipping because they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I want to buy a shirt," and then I'm like, "Oh, but how do I ship it? How do I calculate that? Is there a source that you'd recommend for selling shirts and shipping and handling all of that?"
So you actually made and printed the shirts yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so they're handmade essentially.
Um, they're high quality shirts. I designed them and I found someone to to use a great shirt, and I sent off to a printing press, and I have these
Okay, okay.
quality t-shirts, and they're just sitting in my closet because I don't know how to, you know, calculate the packaging, shipment costs and stuff like that for out of state or out of country purchases.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, the best way, I know you have the shirts already, but the best way prior to that would have been, finding a print on demand service,
Oh,
which which of course though you can't necessarily judge, the quality for yourself because you're not there. But the print on demand service basically takes care of the need for it. You're going to get a much lower percentage.
mhm,
But if your goal is to kind of just get your merch out there,
mhm.
um, let's just say for print on demand, you'll charge $20 to keep the number small. The print on demand place might take 12 or 14 of that, but they're taking care of the printing, they're packing it, and they're shipping it out. And you don't even have to worry about any of that.
Do you have
Now,
an idea of, like, do you have any names that you can drop or recommendations for?
yeah, there's so many. Is there one called something like T-shirt Spring or something? I could send an email to Phil with a couple. I don't know any offhand. There's a lot of like different ones if you just, did a search and then it'll come up. Um, there's a specific one I'm thinking of that I can't think of the name, but I'll get that back to you.
I like
But yeah,
the
yeah, go ahead.
that's called adrenaline. I really like them.
Adrenaline?
There's that one I haven't heard of, but if you've
They're,
used them.
yeah, they're great.
Justin, I have a question.
Okay, wait. Let me finish on one other thing what she said because right now you have a closet full of shirts. You said right now, right?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I've just started giving them to friends because locally, I mean, that sounds bad, but like, it's funny, I was hanging out with some friends the other day and I was like, oh, blessing, I need to give you a shirt. And he's like, I'm happy to pay for your shirt. So I've kind of forgotten that people want to purchase my stuff because I'm not used to making any money, as sad as that sounds. So I'm trying to change my
I
mind.
I know what that's like.
Yeah.
Can I share one thing? Because I've been doing
Yeah.
the merch thing pretty heavily. And I've done the on-demand stuff and now I have just shit tons of merch. And it's like, you can kind of like, you can use it to your advantage. So like the whole shipping cost thing, like play with that number and have fun with it. So like, for instance, you can say, my shirt's $25, but free shipping.
I just
And-
realized
and
there's
so-
people who want to buy
so,
shirts from me and they
yeah.
have a lot of money. I
Yeah.
should just be like,
you can either
What about
charge,
the shirt?
you can either,
What
hey,
about
the
the
shirt's
shirt?
25 plus $6 shipping and handling. Just know
Yep.
that it'll be okay. So like, and usually like with one shirt, just like when people buy a shirt, yeah, it's just about doing it. When people, yeah, when people buy a shirt, usually if you even just were as simple as like, you can go to like a company like, was it Shipped? That does like that, you know what I'm talking about? That does like the really cool.
Yeah.
That's fancy. I haven't messed with that. I literally, people are buying it. I'm putting it in the package, thing that I bought. And then writing the address on it. Hope I write it right. And then and then I actually kind of enjoy going down to the post office because you sold stuff and you like,
Yes.
here's six shirts that I sold. And so my rule of thumb is that usually if it's one shirt, it's about $6, 5 or 6 in that range,
Yeah.
$5, $6.
Sounds about right.
If you just know you're gonna pay about that. So like even if you like were like shipping's $3 and then you charge X amount for the shirt, you in your head, you're okay. So I guess just don't stress it too much. Doing it,
Yeah.
you'll learn through shipping.
Yeah, you know what you paid for everything, right? You know the time, the investment, everything that's in it. So factor that in and then plus whatever else you want to add to it. And if you have people who say they want to buy it, I mean, they're going to buy it as long as it's not unreasonable. And you'll have people who will pay unreasonable amounts of money for things too if they're a super fan. Like one of the best things you can do, it's hit or miss, but the hit is huge when you give away something and you say name your own price. You might have a bunch of people that say $0 or $1, but you might have someone who's like, here's $500 for your album. And it's like, why? Don't question it. Just say thank you, but make sure again, that's somebody that you retarget. This person's a super fan. They just dropped $500 for a $10, name your price album. So that's the same thing with the shirts. And you could even maybe since you already have those shirts, you could say they're just limited edition shirts that puts some urgency on it. Like limited edition, I only have 20 left. Then everyone's like, oh, I gotta go grab that shirt because that's it. once she's out of the shirts, I can't get a shirt no more. Um, and you could do that. That's basically how the brand Supreme works, where they just make a limited drop every once in a while. They'll charge like $5,000 for whatever they're selling. They'll be, oh, but there's only 100 of them. So everybody rushes in. Oh, it's a collector's item. I gotta get it. Is it worth $5,000? No, but they dictated that because they made it something that was in demand. They made it rare, collectible, and that brought up the value. So you can also think of that with the shirts. And then also to what he said about physically going to the post office and then putting the package in and then you leave and you're like, wow, I just shipped something to a fan. And that happened to me with this book. The first one I put in the mail, I was like, yo, somebody just bought my book, like not off of Amazon. They wanted a physical copy that I signed, and they, I only charge $8.99 for the book and they paid me $20. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. It makes you feel good and that it's encouraging. Anytime you can have a win, just no matter how small that win is, just bank it in the back of your head and just remember that feeling. Don't lose that feeling, because once we start losing that feeling as a creative person, that's when we start taking things for granted.
Then,
Hey, Justin, I just been wondering.
No, yeah,
Where's home?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Where's home? Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Staten Island, New York.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, yeah. Heavy. So if I say anything kind of funny with a heavy accent, I can't help it. I'm in the Northeast.
Yes, Alabama, man. I was gonna.
Phil couldn't figure out where I was from. So I was like, wow, I guess I speak neutral, but currently in my house, my parents are here watching my kids, so we're not being disrupted. And my dad has that very harsh, like Brooklyn, New York, like, yo, I'm a New Yorker, like type accent. Um, so I try my best to have my journalism Midwest, like, I'm telling you the news. I'm from Ohio, where you have no idea where I'm from, type of voice. Okay, question.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm from Schenectady. I was born in Schenectady, so fellow New Yorker. Very quickly moved down to the south. But anyways, if you put the artist success in a pie, like how much of that pie is branding slash marketing?
I
All the rest.
Yeah, I would say most of it. I would say 80, maybe 80% of it. Because if you have a strong brand or you market yourself really well, you don't even have to be that talented. And you could see that on TikTok, on the radio, on what's popular. You see these artists and you're like, who who listens to these people? Or like, this is horrible. Like, why does this have 5 million streams? And it's like, oh, because they have a strong brand, they have a label or somebody investing tons of money into marketing, and basically it's being thrown in your face until you accept it or you like it. So since I right now am in the hip hop field for media, when all these SoundCloud, all these trap rappers started coming around, like you think of all the guys with Lil in their name, Lil Uzi, Lil Yachty, even Post Malone, who people consider rap, and he's not rap at all. He's actually a very good singer, but that's considered kind of rap music now. So when that was happening, all of the hardcore hip hop heads who, were in the 90s and grew up on Nas and Jay-Z and Wu-Tang Clan, they're like, what is this crap? Like, this is garbage. This isn't rap. These kids are ruining music, blah, blah, blah. And there was this big pushback against it. And now we're 10 years into it. And when you look at the hip hop charts, it's all people who sing, sing with some auto tune, or there's guitars in the background, like somebody, like the artist who passed away, Juice World. He grew up on emo rock music, and then he started incorporating that into his hip hop, and he was a rapper who used emo music as production, and people are like, well, what is this? So I think it's also kind of every generation is obviously listening to the generation before. So the early 2000s was huge for emo rock and screamo music and hardcore. So it makes sense that you have a whole generation of people who grew up on that and are now like, I'm going to incorporate that into my hip hop. I'm going to incorporate that into my country music. I'm going to incorporate that, into my piano music, my acoustic rock. So it's all marketing, it's all branding, and it's trying to be different than the next person. And that's what makes it so tough now too, because anyone can literally do anything. Anybody can upload a song to Spotify. Anybody can upload a video to TikTok. Whereas even 15, 20 years ago, you had to get discovered. There was no, let me just upload my video and then I go viral on Instagram and now I have a record deal and I'm performing at the New Year's Eve ball drop. That's unheard of. That never happened. So that's all just using the tools that you have now to market and brand yourself. That's the key to everything. You don't, it sucks, but you don't even have to be that good. You just have to be good at letting people know that you're doing something is essentially what it is. If I were to put the whole pie together like that. So it's 80% marketing.
And how much of that marketing, 80% is social media?
I would say predominantly, I would say mostly all of it, because you know if you're an indie artist, that's your only marketing tool that you have. You're not having a label backing you. You're not having, billboards or magazine, banner ads and stuff like that. All you really have is your social media. So it's creating that content on your social media that is going to stand out, but also not just be, oh, I'm singing a song or I'm telling a joke or whatever. It's also has to tell the story and then show your character and exactly who you are. So it's almost like as well on social media that you kind of have to be an actor because you need to portray the character that people are going to fall in love with to want to invest into you, not just like, oh, here's my camera and I'm just gonna sing a song and whatever. Um, that can happen, but when you're competing with so many different people, it's like you have to vie for people's attention. So what can you do that's going to stand out? I saw another on this side. Yeah.
What are different, in regards to marketing and creating a brand, what are different things you've seen other artists do that have worked? I know it's like everyone's different and it kind of depends on the person, but like, is there a overall template of certain kind of things that help create a strong brand?
Yeah. So
Isn't
I
indie
think,
artists with no backing?
oh, for no backing. Yeah, yeah. So I think, it sounds cliche, but like when something is trending, like a particular, like whether it's a meme or somebody, have you seen what's her name? It's like Susie something, and she's like, I hate the store-bought pesto, and then somebody, cuts into that video. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. She's like, call me crazy, but I hate store-bought pesto. And she goes on to tell this story as if like her not liking pesto sauce is like the craziest thing in the world. So people will cut it after she says that, and they'll say, "Wow, Susie, that is crazy. Let me tell you about the time when I fell off a cliff and survived." And and then that video goes viral based off of her video. So it's taking things that are trending, whether infamously bad or really good, and then finding a way to, put something unique on that. So a lot of artists will find success where, say, a popular artist uploads a song to TikTok of them singing. They'll do the duet feature where now they're singing the song next to them, or they're remixing the song, or they're doing something. And then maybe that artist sees that and shares that, or maybe their fans, that original artist fans see that and they start sharing that. And that's how people go viral based off of other people's content. So content marketing is even easier because now you don't even have to create the content originally. You could take someone else's idea and just remix it and maybe do it better or add something to it. Um, yes.
It's about the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that, but I'm just gonna be blunt. my concern about that is that it starts to dilute you as an individual, because
Yes.
what if I actually, that's not my brand. My brand is to be authentic. My brand is not to just jump on the bandwagon. How do you like jump on the bandwagon without jumping on the bandwagon, right? Because like, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, if that doesn't make me authentic. So if everybody's re-spinning a reel where they're singing with Usher, that's great, but maybe my brand isn't doing that. How can you, kind of ride on people's coattails without it appearing so, because you still want to be authentic and an individual.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. That makes sense. See, well, the thing that most artists don't have is they don't have fans or brand to begin with. So there has to be that first step, right? So maybe, as you said, an Usher song. So maybe you remix that Usher song and that brings you,
Right.
I'm just throwing random numbers out. Say you have 10 fans, you remix the Usher song. Now you have 500 fans based off of that video. Cool. Now you can start saying, hey, if you liked what you saw of me on that Usher remix, check out what I could actually do. So then maybe and you could kind of guide them. So maybe it's the remix with Usher and it's you split screen singing with Usher. Then maybe the next video is just you by yourself singing an Usher song. So now, you've kind of removed Usher from the picture, but you're still giving the people who followed you for that remix, you're still giving them something they know. And then after that, you go another step further, and then maybe you do another cover of somebody else that's not Usher, and you see how the reception for that is. Then maybe you get a couple more fans. Now you're building some traction. Then, oh, hey everyone, by the way, check out this song. Then you perform an original song. And then you kind of just gauge the feedback. How did my original song do compared to my remixes? Do I have enough fans or support to keep sustainably just posting my own stuff, or am I going to lose followers? Maybe I have to do another remix. And unfortunately, it's a tough game, and the way that algorithm works is super hit or miss. Like a lot of artists will ask me, what's the key to being successful or famous? And I say, I don't know. There's there's no there's no actual, like, I can't say do 1, 2, 3 and that's it. You will be signed, because otherwise that's what I would be doing now. It's a combination of everything. There's a quote by a guy named Clay Shirky. Um, the quote is, "Nothing will work, but everything might." That's that's essentially what being an artist is. You feel like everything that you're doing is not working at all, but you still have to try everything, because everything you try could potentially work. So it's kind of fighting that game. It's fighting the algorithm. Instagram, Facebook, they're all doing their best job to help you not be seen. You can have 500,000 followers and 400 people will watch your video, and you're like, why? And you're fighting an algorithm. So unfortunately, I know that's not the best answer, but to go back to the original point, you know, build build people up, especially new followers, into what they're used to, and then slowly, like, lead them to the water. Be like, okay, you like this, now come with me as we check out my journey. And then you'll see who sticks around, and the people who leave, you don't want those people anyway, because those people were just following you for a trend.
Have a
I
question?
saw, yeah, I saw his hand. I saw your hand.
I was just scratching my ear.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I feel like I'm stuck in like two loops. As an independent artist, the first is I'm 35 and I feel like I missed like I'm not young enough to like really know how to do social media like super well. So I feel like I missed like that chance to be like discovered, and I also kind of missed the chance to like learn social media. But the loop that I'm in is like I've met with a couple agents, and the agents want me to have more bookings, more gigs. But in order to get more gigs, I would need, like, it helps to be signed. So it's like, it feels like I almost have to be a super established artist to get signed. And then, does it defeat the point? Because by then I'm booking, I'm getting gigs. So it's just this cycle of like trying to have enough work to get signed. And not being able to get booked without the signing, if that makes sense. Like not being legitimized by being the sign
Yeah, well,
is an inhibitor of
y-
it. So like, I'm just in
yeah.
that. Spectrum. Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm 35, so you're not too old, because every day I'm learning and figuring out something new, and every day there's a new social media that comes up that I have to try to figure out how to master
Sure.
myself and then tell people how to do it. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's exhausting. It's a lot of work. So, I mean, in your case though, I would say if it seems very daunting to you, just start with one platform and just try to master that platform. Or if there's a platform that you're already like pretty proficient with,
Uh-huh.
maybe that's the one you stick to and you work on that one. And then people will filter in to other ones as well. Now, in terms of like the loop, yes, the impossible never-ending loop of you need more fans or we'll sign you, but I can't get more fans if I'm not being signed, things like that. Um, yeah, that's really when you have to take the matters into your own hands and just, like I said, figure out something that works for your fan base and keep giving your fan base that thing until it stops working, because at one point it will stop working. And then that's when you have to reinvent the wheel again. And maybe it'll be 3 months, maybe it'll be 3 weeks, maybe it'll be 3 years. But you take the time to figure out exactly what your dedicated people want, and then you try to garner and gain people from that. And then, I mean, the best thing you could also do, and I don't know the situation for where you guys are actually situated and what your hometowns are like, but you start locally and you build that hardcore fan base locally, whether you're doing shows there or just making fans that live near you. And then you get that word of mouth going, and then you become undeniable in your town. And then the next town wants a piece of that. And they say, oh, who's that artist that's popping, 5 miles that way? Let's bring her this way. And then you get there, and then you just grow, and then you grow. And then that's when a radio station will call you. That's when a social media platform will hit you up and say, hey, we want to interview you on Instagram Live. That's when a concert promoter will say, hey, we saw that you sold out your show in that tiny little town at a coffee house. What can you do in a bigger venue? We want to, somebody famous is coming in and we want you to open for them. We have an opening. That's when you have people who approach you and say, hey, I saw what you did, in front of those 15 people, and you still rocked it and were amazing. And I think you need a manager, and I'll be willing to manage you and help take you to the next level. One of So an artist once told me a story that they had booked this tour, and this tour was going all through the US, and they're playing these really crappy shows, a couple people every night at a bar. But they're giving it their best because you never know who's actually watching you. And then one day they played this bar. Um, it was midnight. There was three people left. There was an older guy in the back. He's drunk out of his mind, falling over, and the restaurant is closed. And he says, "No, play your entire set again." And they're like, "No, no, we have to leave." And he said, "I spoke to the restaurant. They said it's okay." They play their entire set again. Now it's like 2 in the morning. He said, "I want to hear the set again." And they're like, "No, we got to, I'll give you, I'll I'll write you a check, whatever." They look at the restaurant owner, the owner's, "Oh, okay, sure." So they play the set again. Now they're like belligerent. The guys in the back are belligerent. They're passing out. Comes to find out that those three people are in the back. One of those guys is like a multi-millionaire who's just trying to throw around his money. He trades contact information with the band and says, I've never done a label before, but I have tons of money and I know people in the music industry. You guys just went along with me being crazy in the back. I appreciated your music. You guys were great guys. Here's my number. Let's talk. So they start talking. This guy is creating a record label for this artist that he wants to sign just because he saw their effort in, you know, a terrible situation. He has, you know, like $1 million he wants to sign them for. He's going to set them up on a tour. And he's got the check ready and it's written or whatever. So all of a sudden, this guy, they don't hear from him anymore. This is probably one of the craziest stories. They don't hear from him anymore, and they feel like he's ghosted them, and they're calling him, they're calling him, they're calling him. And they finally get a call back one day, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know the guy's name. So and so, we've been trying to get in touch with him. He wanted to sign us and do a record deal." And they said, "Yes. Unfortunately, he passed away. He died."
No.
Yes. So unfortunately, he died. And they were like, "Okay, but he had like this check or this paperwork for us." And like, "Yes, we have it, and it is not signed. It's next to his bed."
Oh.
Um, so tragic, absolutely tragic, but that goes all the way back to saying, when you're performing, even in the craziest situation, always be giving it your best. Pretend that there's 500, those 5 people in the room are 500 people, because those 5 people are there and they're watching you. So they shouldn't not get a good performance from you because you're feeling like, oh, you know, down in the dumps about a bad show. But again, that's how you build up the fan base. You might play in front of these people who could change your life. So for you, I would say that was super long-winded to get back to your point. I'm sorry. But for you, for you, I'm just saying, like, 35 isn't too old. Needing the label support, maybe not necessary. But if you're able to do these things and perform and create with excellence, somebody is going to notice you, and you can get to that next spot that you're trying to get to. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. Usually I'm interviewing the artist. I don't answer the questions all the time. So I'm trying to throw all these things in my brain. I'm not prepared. Like an artist is prepared with all their answers.
Right.
Doing great.
Any questions off of that?
So I do. So I feel like especially coming from your background and your interests. So that go quickly from where I was to where I am now. Writing songs, moved here really to kind of get away from doing the artist. I wasn't planning on doing the artist thing here in Nashville. Moved here to write songs, do the songwriting thing for other artists, which has been awesome. Still do that, but kind of got pushed. I was playing that we have like these songwriter rounds here. If you spend much time in Nashville, there's these shows that are really for the people. And ended up getting some opportunities to do the artist thing. I'm here in Nashville. Would have never in a million years considered myself a country artist. The next thing you know, I'm like in the country genre. And this was a few years, 4 or 5 years ago-ish.
Yeah.
And doing the thing, blah, 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 blah. Kind of got the ball rolling with it, which was kind of interesting. And then kind of like the story I tell is like I started to get on the cool playlists, you know, the editorial. Get on them, and I got on them, and I was like, well, cool. I kind of wish that I'm doing the artist thing. If I wish I was on some playlists that I was excited about, that I listened to. So I usually name drop who I'm practicing willpower here. I usually name drop who I was next to. I'm not doing that this time. It's just not my jam. So I was next to, and then. But anyways, no need. It was just music that I wasn't listening to. So kind of had that moment, and I would say that kind of started to get the wheels turning of, dude, if you're going to do the artist thing, do what you want to do. And so it's kind of after hearing what you do, I don't know if you listen to these guys, but you know, a lot of my stuff, I would say, is at least inspired by, you know, some of the faces that are in kind of that lane that's hip hop infused with rock mixed with like Top Days, Surfaces, those types of bands, kind of positive stuff, and that's you know, leans that way. So kind of some of it sounds kind of alt rock mixed with hip hop and singing, and I sing obviously. But I felt a little lost, being here in Nashville, and then two, with a fan base that was fans of my previous effort. And so I'm kind of okay with starting anew, but I'm trucking along, and like I've got this record's almost done. And my question I'm getting at is like Friday we'll be pretty much finishing this record. And one of the things I've been thinking about with like some of the songs is getting a feature on it, and somebody that, you know, like there's a particular song that's definitely like what I like to do is on verses. Like I'll do a verse that I probably wrote pretty much like rap, like a hip hop song, and then
Yeah.
I either don't smooth it out or I smooth it out a little bit to where it's a singing.
Yeah. I got you.
And then on the bridge, I'll just go all in rap. So like I'll let it go. But
You
what
mix
I'm
it up.
doing is like letting that bridge be somebody else. And I'm kind of just, I was curious as how do you hear about those things happening? Because like in my mindset, the positive of it is like my new thing, EDBH, from a streaming standpoint, has 0 following. I mean, it's eating, like it's absolutely eating it right now, and it's you know, driving me a little nuts. But the way I look at it is, if it's a really cool song and Phil's a rapper and he's in Philly, Phil from Philly, makes sense. And like he's got a couple 100,000 listeners a month. Maybe he doesn't even have any recordings on the books, just put out his album last year, kind of sitting on that for a while, but really use a little bit of something. And I come in with a song that just because of his following, we should be able to work something out where I'm like, hey Phil, I got a song, I'm tracking it with a guy who does amazing stuff in the pop world. So like, you know, be like, hey, got this producer, he's gonna kill it. It's a song that I think you'll dig. If they like the song, it seems like it would be a positive because it would generate them some, you know, a new bump in traffic. How do you go about finding that guy? I don't know.
All right. So how do you approach people for a feature, essentially?
Yeah.
You could go about it one of two ways. Unfortunately, there's the long road where you build a relationship and a rapport with this person. And this is what artists will do to me all the time. They'll follow me on Twitter or on Instagram, and they'll comment on my post, they'll engage with everything. Like, and it's a good idea because you're seeing this name all of the time. You're like, oh, John liked my post again, or John has a comment about my post or whatever. So you get that, that FaceTime almost where it's just like, oh, I see this person every day. They're super supportive. When I post about my book, they put an Instagram story about my book. Cool. So now there's kind of a little bit of this rapport. So then maybe it starts with sliding in the DMs, and it's like, hey man, I've been a big fan of yours for a while. And then you can actually see that they have, because, oh yeah, I know you've liked 700 of my posts in the last year or something like that.
Yeah.
In a non-spam, there's a way to do it, and then there's a way to spam where you'll go on Instagram and it's like, oh, John just liked 700 of your posts, and you're just like, oh, then that gets put in your head in a negative way. But if you're engaging and trying to have a meaningful conversation, and you're DMing and you're talking, maybe that turns into a friendship or a relationship. So maybe it's like, hey man, I know, let's just say we're both artists, and like, I really have been digging your style. I know you checked out my music. How do you think it would work, if we tried something together? And it's like, oh, that would be, amazing. You make great stuff, and I see your name all the time. I always see that you're doing great stuff. You like my music? Sure. And maybe you just get together and it's super organic and it's a friendship. Or you have the other way, which is the quick way, is the transactional way, where it's just like, then you're thinking of that feature as marketing, is essentially what you're doing. You have a big fan base, or a fan base that I am completely out of touch with. I'm going to give you whatever amount of money you want that I could afford, so that my music gets in front of your audience. Because more often than not, when you're approaching somebody for a feature and they're charging you, and they're in an audience that, or in a category above you, they don't necessarily need you. Like there's not going to be an equal value for them. If it's like, oh, I have, 1,000 streams a month and this person has 2 million streams a month, they don't need your 1,000 streams. So it's going to be, all right, what's the price? What's the price to pay to have you on my track? And then even when you do that, if you're paying someone for the feature, you have to know exactly what you're paying for. Like, is it them? They're just going to record something in 30 minutes and hand you trash and then say, okay, that's it. I did my job. I took my money. I walk away. Or is it someone who's actually going to try really hard, try to match the tone, the energy of the track? When the track comes out, are they going to post about it? Because that's big too. Because if the person has a huge fan base and they don't even acknowledge that a song with their feature came out, then you just threw away, $1,000, whatever the amount is. You just threw it away because no one's looking for you to see that feature, right?
Right.
If the artist came out and was like, oh, check it out, I just did this track with this new artist from Nashville. Check it out. It's a little out of my comfort zone. Then all of a sudden, all 2 million of his followers, now they go check out your music. You did it. You basically successfully paid for the ad. So those are the two routes you can go. It's relational, which is the long game, or there's the quick transaction where it's like, I'm going to pay you and you're going to do this service for me, essentially, but have some sort of terms or service terms, like in agreement, like, okay, I need you to post about it once. And if that costs money, how much more money is that? I wouldn't bring that up first, but I would talk to them and just be like, hey, would you post about it? Would you share? And if they're like, oh, cool, yeah, I would love to, just make sure that's something that's going to happen. Or if they're like, nah, I can't do that. And then you got to follow up and be like, all right, so what's it going to take for you to do that? And if they're like, oh, an extra $500 and I'll post about it, then you have to decide, if that's what you want to do. But I would say another important thing though, with creating relationships, whether it's you or someone's trying to create one with you, is, and it might be hard, but like it's got to be genuine. So I'll tell you a story from my experience. I had an artist who built this relationship with me, was talking to me, was whatever, and his new song dropped, and he DMs me a couple days after it dropped, all angry, saying, "Yo, I thought we were bros. I thought we were so cool. How come you didn't post about my new song?" Mind you, I did. He didn't bother to check to see if I posted it, or he missed it. And he's like, "I thought we were bros." He goes, "I even tried to become your friend and commented and engaged with." So he actually basically unveiled like when the villain at the end of the movie says, "This is why I did everything." And then, they're recording it for the police, is basically what he did to me. He's like, "I tried to become your friend. I thought we were so cool, blah, blah, blah. And you didn't even post it." And then all I did was just send him the link to the song that I actually posted because I thought we were bros. So I hooked him up and then I blocked him. I never, and I never, I was like, "Peace out. Here's your link. Peace out." And I never heard from him again. That happens, especially when somebody wants something that you have. So in my case, I have the Rapzilla platform. So the rappers are always trying to get on the platform. So they will be super nice to me. They'll come up to me if I'm at a show. Oh, and I have no idea who half these people are half the time. And they'll, "Yo, so great to see you, man. I love you, bro. Blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, cool, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. But there's a face there, right? And they're trying. So as long as you don't wind up like that other guy who's just like, "Man, I thought we were boys." And then,
Tight, man. You remember me? I talked to you. I was in the living room, bro.
yes, all I see is a hand.
Do you know a group called The Coup? Boots Riley and The Coup? They're underground Oakland hip hop rap group.
No, I have not heard of them.
I'm from Oakland, so I grew up around a lot of underground scene, but they were like, it was like Tupac and The Coup. Do you know Tupac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tupac and The Coup. I was just wondering if you've like written about them and or read about them, but
No, well, yeah, so much like I'm sorry, I don't know anybody's names. But much like you in the middle, where you weren't trying to land particularly in a place. I have found myself working Christian entertainment and media for my entire career. And I didn't go, I didn't get a journalism degree in like Christian journalism. Remember, my goal was to try to be a rock star. So I was just trying to do any sort of music journalism. But it so happened that one of my friends got this job at this publication called The Christian Post, which at the time, back in 2011, they had like 12 million readers a month. Like it was the biggest Christian publication that was online. He's like, I had just graduated college. I was delivering pizzas and teaching science. I don't know anything about science. I was teaching science to little kids at a camp and delivering pizzas. So that's what I was doing. And my friend hits me up and he's like, I just started at this place called the Christian Post. They're looking for journalists. You're a journalist, apply. So I did. And I got the job. And that's my journalism career. I was very fortunate enough to start my journalism career 5 months after graduating college. I would say 95% of the people that I graduated with never even got a journalism job, or they were completely out of media and everything within 4 or 5 years. It's tough. Journalism is probably just as tough as being an artist now, because anybody could write, anyone could have a blog. People can use AI to write articles now. A little kid can show up at the scene of a fire and record it on his phone, and he just broke a news story. Like anything could happen. I'm competing with everybody. So I worked at the Christian Post, obviously, Christian publication, and did entertainment there. And then they purchased this other website called breathecast.com, and they wanted to make that the MTV version of the Christian Post. And they said, here's your website. And they gave it to me and they said, make something happen. So I did that with the staff, and we had a couple of shows that we did on YouTube, and we had a little studio. And then like all good things, it came to an end and they laid me off. So I went home and I had no job, and I was married. I didn't have any kids yet. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I emailed this place, Rapzilla, who had sent us stories that we got stories from. And I was like, hey, do you guys take, paid freelancers? And they're like, no, we don't at all. We don't have a budget for that. But we know who you are. So again, there was some sort of relationship there because I had spoken to them through email. They said, we know who you are. We know your work. You do good work. We'll give you a shot. Now I freelanced, then I became full-time in 2016. And by 2018, I was the editor. By 2019, I was the editor-in-chief. And now I basically run the entire ship there. So, but that is a Christian hip hop website, Rapzilla. So for the entirety of my career, I've just been in Christian media. I have experience doing other things, but that's what's paying me right now. And I do a lot of other stuff on the side for different things, just like all of us do, I'm sure. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
One quick question. We were talking about viral stuff earlier, like post go viral.
Yeah.
Do you think, okay, so like, the people will try to do the thing where you get the split screen thing, you get like I know a lot of times, for instance, I don't know if you follow, there's a guy named Anise that's in like the kind of that space. So it's kind of like, he's kind of like more like your songwriter, but vibes musically, but then like he raps and sings. Anyways, he had that song called Free Me that like blew up. And the way he blew it up is one of the ways he did it was he had like the second verse via You Take It verse. Like,
yes, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, see that, you know what I'm talking about? And he would
Yes.
it was the same, I think the same.
Yep.
As every
Yeah.
Oh
No.
yeah.
So that's perfect. So basically it's a challenge. You're creating a challenge.
Now, let me ask
where
you,
Yeah, go ahead.
do you think, like I feel like when you post something like that, and he has a big following, but he's not like famous.
Yeah.
I've always felt like those things might be, I've never been involved with somebody who had something blow up like that, might be orchestrated in the sense that like for the month before this goes out, I've got my people ready to on at like 500 people. What's the right number? I don't know, 1,000 people. Who knows?
It's marketing.
Ready to go. So when that song drops on that day, it comes, and I've like tried to orchestrate it, it just never quite works. Like I think probably the effort, like if you reach out to 100 people that you know that could possibly do it, like even if it's not like an artist type of thing where you need to be able to sing, like just hey, like I had a song called Fiesta, like there's no Manana that came out, and it's like I tried to get so many people to post like a thing, just a fun video of you with the song playing, and just some people did.
Yeah.
The amount of people I needed for it to go nuts, I just probably didn't reach enough people. But it's like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it's not necessarily on you though either. Remember, you're trying to catch an algorithm that randomly decides what they want to show people.
sure.
So you could have done everything right. It just didn't work.
But
You might have asked nobody to do it,
right.
and 100,000 people did it.
Right,
So,
for sure. But I know that on my end, like, yeah, I might have put in a fair amount of effort, but on my end, the number of people that I would have hoped did it that I reached out to didn't do it. So like if 200 people had done it, that would be 200 videos out there, but it didn't. I just
yeah.
I wonder.
No, those are great because rappers will do this all the time and they'll call it an open verse challenge.
Love
And the Christian rappers do it all the time,
it.
where they'll play their song and they'll have like their phone or whatever or a microphone and they'll do ba da 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 do the verse and then they'll go okay, and then they're like, oh, killing it, and they're like trying to match, and then that actually gives the person a template to try to match the vibe of
Yeah.
the person holding the thing, like vibing out to it. So I've seen those work really well where, they'll do a contest and they'll say, whoever, and you could even do that too, even on a small scale. So maybe 10 people do it. Okay, you could still find a winner among 10 people. You
Right.
could say, hey, the top 2 people get to be on a remix version of this song. And artists will do that all the time. Like and it's basically you're having other people do marketing for you is basically what you're doing. I have this song. I'm making other people perform and make videos of my song so I don't have to. That's essentially what it's doing. You're making the other people do the work, but then you give the winners a reward, right? So it's like, okay, so the top 3 people who I pick out of, the 500 people who do this, I'm going to put them on the remix of my song, and then we're going to upload that song to Spotify. So now you've just created a network with 3 new people. So now you're now all of your networks are combined. So now their fans and their fans and their fans. Now you all have the same fans. And that's it's an organic way to grow something.
That's a way to get back into the feature. That was a good.
Yeah. It's an organic way to grow something. You're getting a feature and marketing for free just because you're calling somebody a winner at the end of it. That's essentially all it is. People there's good advice. People love contests. So you're stuck with all your shirts, and if you just said, "Hey, I'm giving 1 t-shirt away for free if you like my page, share this post and tag a friend." People love free stuff. You might get 500 people tagged just because they want something for free. When the contest is over, maybe 60% of those people leave, but if you can gain 40% that hang around, cool. You just got a bunch of new fans that came to your page to get something free, but they found something else that they like, so they hung out. That's another quick and easy way to do something, and it's just costing you, the price of whatever you're giving away for free is essentially what you're doing. I had something else based off of that. Oh, so there's an artist that we work with at Rapzilla. His name is Tyler Hates Life. It's all one word. I would check out his page. Tyler is fantastic at creating content, and some of the content that I was talking about where he'll he'll you know base remix off of somebody else's video, or he'll make his own original version of that video. He has about 260,000 followers on TikTok. He has at least a dozen videos with over 1 million followers. And for him, he makes really emotional and personal music. So the people who he draws in, they hang out, they stick around, And that's translated to him getting millions of streams on Spotify, to the point where he's actually able to become a full-time artist and be completely independent. And it was based off of the videos that he made on TikTok that went viral, and then turned that virality into streams. The streams turned into money. The money turned into people booking him for shows and buying merch. Something that he's doing is he's hand painting his own shirts in limited qualities. So he'll have like 50 of a shirt that he hand painted, the logo, the design. He can honestly, with the way his fans are, he can throw it up on his site for 150 bucks and he'll sell out of those shirts because he's created that brand that people know exactly what they're going to get from him. They like it, they followed him, they're invested. It's not just, I followed you after a viral video and I will never look at you again. So it's turning that, it's first, it's one, trying to get that viral video, and then two, converting those viral people into people that want to hang out and invest in you. And it's hard. But again, nothing will work, but everything might. It comes back to that. You have to keep trying. So I would encourage you guys to look at his page and, get some ideas and see what he does. Look at some of his videos that don't have a lot of views. This is another thing too. For people within your space or your particular genre or style of things you do, look at the people who are successful. Look at some of the people in that space who aren't as successful, and then study, especially if you're trying to learn social media, study what they do. So this video has 100,000, plays. Why? What did they do in this video? Compared to the next video that this person did that only has 2,000. Why did this one flop? Now, again, it could be the algorithm, or it could be that they were able to capture something that makes people want to share it and comment and engage it. So that's what you have to study, which look at what the successful people do in your space, see what they do well, and then say, how can I take that and turn it into something that's uniquely me, but based off of kind of the things that work for them. And then as you're doing stuff, the things that don't work, throw them away. You don't have to keep doing it. An artist will be like, oh, I I've been posting a graphic every single day on my page, an inspirational quote, a graphic, something to encourage people. And then I went on his page and he had at least 15 posts in a row that didn't even have a single like. And I said, it's cool that you did that. It didn't work. You need to stop doing it. But I'm trying to be consistent. You are consistently not working is basically what it is.
Oh,
No, but people, and again, creative people need that harsh reality, because a lot of us feel like we're the best at what we do, right? Or we feel entitled, like we deserve something. And entitlement is the biggest enemy of an artist. Like I I don't owe an artist anything. If they haven't paid me to do something for them, I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to do anything, but an artist will routinely, hey, bro, you didn't post me. Hey, how come you never cover me? Half the time, I don't even know who this person is. Like you have to make yourself, like, make other people aware of you, and you have to do it well. But at the same time, you have to know that when you're doing something wrong and you can't see it, you need someone to punch you in the face. You need someone to say, hey, man, you know that song you just sang, the chorus, that was a little pitchy. I think you could probably sing better. What? But my voice is from the gods. Great. But I think that if everyone else heard it, I think they would think that you were out of key. And you need that harsh truth, because more often than not, and especially if it's somebody's opinion that you trust, you don't just take one, get a couple of different opinions. Most of the people will have similar opinions, and you'll say, oh, you know what? I was kind of off on that verse, or maybe I could have written that song better, or maybe this joke that I told that I thought really was a room killer is really a crowd killer, as in nobody's laughing and I'm gonna get booed off stage. So you need people to tell you when you suck, when something's not good. So I told this person, and this person paid me for a consultation. So I wasn't gonna gas him up and say, oh, you're doing a great job. I was like, you're consistent, it's great. But from my professional opinion, if you have 15 posts in a row that don't even have one like, never mind a comment, Nobody is coming to your page to see that. So go on your page, see what people actually comment and like on or care about, and do that. Oh, but I can't make that content every single day. You don't have to. You can make it twice a week. You could post on Mondays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Fridays, whatever works for you. Or you can take a break, create a content calendar, which is something that's important, a content calendar where you basically list out all of your ideas. And let's say you come up with 20 ideas and you take however long it takes, maybe a week or two, 3 weeks, and you create all 20 pieces of those content, and then you sit on it. You have it stored out, and then you could say, okay, we're entering the month of March. On March 2nd, I'm going to put this one here. On March 5th, I'm going to put this one here. And then all of your content will already be made. You have your next 2 months scheduled out of content. And then during that time, you're able to kind of free yourself up to create new things or to be available to say, oh, this thing is trending or going viral. Let me pivot the content that I have for Thursday and make something off of that. Because a lot of times people will want to be consistent. I'm going to drop a new video every Monday, but the problem is they're struggling to make that video on Sunday. And then if something happens on Sunday where they can't make the video for Monday, now they missed a week. And now whatever consistency that you were building within your fan base is gone. So maybe you disappear for a month. You have 3 months worth of Monday content ready to go. And that way you don't have to skip a beat. So if there's a day on a Sunday where you don't feel like making something, you're like, all right, I already got tomorrow covered because I created the video. And that's what you can do with a content calendar.
Well, Justin, I want to honor your time, man. This has been amazing. If you had
Thank you. Thank you.
that you've been holding back, we had a lot of questions, which has been awesome. Yeah.
Hey, well, my contact information is in that book. So you guys can hit me up anytime. And be more than happy to talk with any of you. There's a lot of useful things in that book too. So my hope would be that the book impacts you or works so well that you don't even have to talk to me again. You don't even have to bother. And then I'll feel like, oh, mission accomplished. I did well with the book. But yeah, I mean, that book has tons of practical tips in it that I've just learned over the years or things that I've seen people do wrong. And I kind of take what they did wrong and say, how can we make this right? Some of it's repetitive, but I try to add a little, new twist to it. But yeah, that's all in there. That's like almost 15 years of experience in getting things wrong and trying things, and it's all in that book. I did it all so you don't have to, is essentially what's in that book. But I appreciate you guys listening to me. Usually I'm asking the questions, so it's really cool to be on the other side.
Yeah,
And I wish you guys like success and
thank you.
don't take anything for granted. Remember the best feelings and the best moments and keep them locked away. I'm going to repeat that.